Welcome everybody to the Agile Avengers vlog, our COVideo vlog series. We've been doing some videos from home during the lockdown period on various Agile topics. And today is probably the hottest day of the year so far. So Kat and I are a little bit sweaty. We're in matching white t-shirts, but we're going to get through it. I'm Ben. Very sweaty. I'm Ben. I'm one of the Agile Avengers team. I'm a Scrum Master and an Agile coach. Kat, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Kat. I'm also one of the Agile Avengers team. At Vodafone, I'm an e-commerce manager, but I was a product owner for a couple of months as well, covering a marketing squad.
Awesome. A very busy marketing squad. Today, we're going to chat about the product owner and Scrum Master relationship, which is something which I think is going to be very different for a lot of people, depending on the team, your experiences, the role that you've played. But we just wanted to have a little bit of a discussion around what are the key differences between the two roles, what does good look like for a Scrum Master and product owner, and then what happens when you have a great relationship, what are the benefits, and what does that look like, and what does it look like when the relationship isn't so good, and what are the pitfalls. So we'll just summarize before we get going on the differences, because some people might be like, oh, what is a Scrum Master, product owner? What's the difference? But in an Agile team, a product owner is fundamentally responsible for the what. They're responsible for the product that you deliver, and they look after the value that is delivered to the customer. So the product owner is the customer champion. They are the key point of contact for stakeholders in the wider business. And fundamentally, they own and prioritize the backlog that the Scrum team or the Agile team work from. So they say what's high priority and low priority. And they do that based on understanding the customer, understanding the stakeholders, and then prioritizing that for the team. They do not manage the team in the sense that they don't tell the team how to do the work or how to deliver a certain piece of the product. The team are then responsible for how they get it done. The team are responsible for managing their own capacity. The product owner can't say all of this stuff must happen this sprint. They're merely there to prioritize the backlog and say, here's the backlog of priority order. What do you think you can do? The Scrum Master is responsible for the how. So they are a team coach. They're there to aid continuous improvement. They're there to remove any blockers or impediments internally and externally to the team. They're there to ensure that the team are working optimally and they're always addressing their own performance and making sure that they're identifying where they can be better and where they can do more and do more quality stuff, and just to help them coach them through to be able to do that so the team are continuously improving. The Scrum Master, again, it's a servant leader role, as the product owner is. You're not there as a Scrum Master to tell the team how to do their jobs. You're not there to dictate how much work they can do at one time. You are there to coach, guide, and help as a servant leader in the same way the product owner is. But fundamentally, product owner is responsible for the what. Scrum Master is responsible for the how.
Yes,
hopefully that's clear.
Yeah, no, I think that's clear. Yeah, and I think the biggest thing to take away is what you were saying is, like, you know, those roles aren't there to manage the team, you know, tell them what to do and how to do it. So yeah, I think that's something that people sometimes forget in these roles. So it's very good for highlighting that one.
Yeah. Let's just chat before we get into the relationship between the two. In your eyes, Kat, what do you think good looks like for those roles?
Oh wow. So I think within the product owner role, I think it's very much, you know, you are the guardian and the protector of the resource of your team, really, and you have to really back them all the way, and you need to be the ones who are able to sort of relay to the rest of the business when things can and can't be delivered and the reasons why for it. And if there are loads of things coming towards like the team that needs to be done, really help guide them and prioritize what is going to add the value, be the customer in their eyes, so they are able to know like where the value is and how they can deliver it. So yeah, when I was doing the role, I was very sort of concerned about protecting the team from being pulled in all these different directions, especially in a company that's got a lot of projects going on, a lot of tight timelines to be delivered to. So it's really protecting the capacity, the resource, and their overall well-being as well. In terms of the Scrum Master, it's someone who can guide, like you say, but also for me, it's like who can bring the fun to the team and the work they're delivering as well, and help them understand, you know, what they could be doing and how they could be doing it in a better way. So yeah, I think Ben, you're very good at that. Like in our reviews, in our plannings, like you always, you know, we get key actions taken away from everything we discuss, but it's also done in a very fun, imaginative, creative way that takes everyone out of their day-to-day disciplines and roles that they're doing. So for me, I think that is what I see as really good.
Thanks for
What
that.
about
It's
you?
good to know.
It is,
Sometimes,
like they have so much fun, they really enjoy it. So I think that's so important.
yeah, I agree. Sometimes I kind of go home and I'm like, is this really my job? I've spent half the day planning activities and stuff to get the team drawing something silly, or you know, or doing a scavenger hunt just to break up like a long workshop. But
Yeah,
actually, it is, and I think we're moving to an age now, probably in corporate culture, definitely since lockdown as well, where we're de-professionalizing the corporate environment. You know, gone are the
yeah,
days where everyone turns up in a suit and tie and you all sit formally and, you know, you do everything in that kind of old Mad Men style. We're in a new world where people are working from home and juggling family and work, and people are more real. We haven't got time to do all the kind of the old school formalities, like you just need to be real. And so I think part of that realness is having human connection. So it's no wonder that
yeah,
everyone wants to have a connection with the people they work with, because then you work better with each other when you've had a bit of a laugh together and you know you've
yeah,
got that connection. So
yeah,
um, yeah, I mean, for me, a great product owner is able to run a really good backlog. So having that backlog really clear, really prioritized, um, and to be able to know their stakeholders and know their customers and be able to then help the backlog reflect that. Because when the backlog is all in order and you've got a really clear backlog that the team can understand and they can get behind, it's then very easy for a team to be at their best, because they're pulling in the next highest priority items, they're clear on what needs to be done, and they're also clear on the why. I think if a product owner is doing a great job of managing the backlog and giving it the detail and the context, the team can then understand, yes, this is why we're doing this. It's because, you know, this piece of customer feedback said this feature needed to be tweaked, and so we get it, let's crack on. Whereas sometimes when work comes in and it hasn't got the context or the why, teams can get frustrated because they feel like they're just taking orders without a purpose. So yeah, for me, a product owner, they can prioritize the backlog really well. They can give the team the context, and they can keep them in the loop. I think a product owner as well should be a real customer champion, in the sense that sometimes we can all do it. We can get so bogged down with doing the work, you can sometimes forget what does the customer actually want here, or what's going to add the most value to the customer. And actually, a product owner should be the person who is always going, you know, does this best serve our customers' needs? Is it what the customer really wants? It's that kind of outcome over output mentality. And if a product owner can get that right, then they can be incredible. A Scrum Master, well, I'm kind of biased because I am one, so I'll have my own views of what makes a good Scrum Master. But I think there's a little mantra that Scrum Masters should be working to make themselves obsolete within a team. I've also heard a kind of follow-up mantra, which is you should get to the point where the team don't need you to stay, but they want you to stay. And
Yeah.
so that's kind of hard to wrap your head around because you spend most of your life trying to make yourself indispensable in a job. Um, but I think a great Scrum Master can, in the early stages, they can help a team get going fast. They can be quite hands-on, and they can, pick up the slack where needed to really get the team moving fast. And then gradually over time, as the team mature, I think a great Scrum Master knows how to start getting the team running their own stuff, running their own retrospectives, taking ownership over their own continuous improvement. It could be quite easy for a Scrum Master or a coach to kind of spoon feed the team their improvement initiatives, spoon feed them their own feedback, handhold them through some iterative improvements. Whereas actually, you want the team to be able to do that themselves. You want the team to be able to go, hey guys,
Yeah.
we've got an idea that would help us be a lot faster. If we did this, it would make a big impact, so let's do it. Yeah, cool. Okay, I'm going to do this tomorrow. You're going to do that on Wednesday. Let's smash it. That's where you want the team to get to, not in a place where they're reliant on the Scrum Master or the coach to kind of do it all for them. And you want to be able to get to that place where the team feel empowered. They feel like they've got that ability to take ownership of their own continuous improvement. So that would certainly be my goal as a Scrum Master, and I hope a few people would agree that that's what a good Scrum Master looks like. I was going to ask you, Kat, you obviously were a product owner for a while in some of the teams in Vodafone. What was it that you needed from your Scrum Master?
I think for me, it was more support with managing expectations or knowing who to go to, or sort of relaying information to the wider business. But I think mine is quite biased because I was doing 2 roles at the time, and like I needed that extra support, or I needed to know that like you, for example, were there if there were occasions where like I had too many things going on. But I think the big one for me was relaying information to the wider business. I think Scrum Masters, maybe it's the nature of the role, but they end up knowing a lot more people outside of the immediate teams, the immediate tribes. And, I think what helped in your case was that you have a really tight chapter and team. And you guys are all close to each other. So you were able to reach out to those members and know who to go to probably a lot quicker, a lot more efficient than I could. And
just for anyone that doesn't understand the Spotify lingo, a chapter is other people that do the same job as you in that scaled agile model. So if you're a Scrum Master, you would be in a Scrum Master chapter. So you've got a network of other people who do the same role as you. So just heads up, because not everyone knows the Spotify model lingo.
It becomes like second nature once you started working in that framework.
Tribes and chapters and squads.
But essentially your sort of wider team or department, she's saying. I think as well it was knowing that like, I think you and I work quite closely together, and you and I were very aware of like the backlog, the priorities, what the projects were for the team. So if I wasn't able to be there, or if I was pulled into other directions, you were able to step in and also help guide the team on, what the next priority was, or if they were stuck, you kind of had an idea of, what the project was about, why they were getting stuck, and potentially could help them, who they need to speak to or where to go to. So I think that worked really well for us. So it was, I definitely felt like if I needed someone to sort of lean on, you were definitely there, and you were very up to date with what was going on with the squad and all our priorities, etc. So it's having that sort of quite tight knit, you're a sort of power team, you can divide and conquer to help the squad, crack on and, deal with the blockers, etc. What about you?
Well, I was going to say it's kind of hard for you because I was the only Scrum Master that you've ever worked with. So maybe one day you'll work with another Scrum Master and realise that there was a whole load more to it. But who knows? I was obviously able to I've worked with a couple of different product owners, and they all have different skills and characteristics, as we all do. But I think what as a Scrum Master, what you need from a product owner is a product owner that can allow you some time and space to experiment with the team and help them to continuously improve through a coaching type style. And that sometimes takes a little bit of time, because it would be very easy just to go, guys, I've spotted this problem. This is the best solution, in my opinion. So let's crack on and do it. And that would probably be the most time effective way to do that process. But actually, we don't always buy into ideas very well that are forced upon us. If we come up with our own ideas, we often take ownership over them most strongly. So when you're a Scrum Master, you want to be able to give the team time to identify their own blockers or issues or areas for improvement, and then help them to take action against those. And so that's often not as quick as just going, this is the problem, this is what you need to do. And product owners, naturally, they are trying to get through their backlog as quickly as possible. So time is important. And actually, for a product owner to give you some breathing space, to have those retrospective sessions, to be able to allow the team to think through for themselves what they need to do, is really important. Product owners, as you'll know, are often fairly competent, fairly directive. They're leaders, they're doers. They want to crack on and get through the to-do list. So for them just to step back for a second and allow some space is definitely tough. But it's a really important thing to be able to do. And with someone who I spent quite a long time with as a product owner, they recognise that, and we built a brilliant relationship, which we can come on to in a bit. But they were really good at allowing the time and space for us as a team to go through those developmental learning, retrospective type sessions, despite the fact that there were all the pressures on the team in terms of time. And they were really good at shielding the team while we had that space. So that's probably what I would want from a product owner.
Do you have any advice for sort of like new product owners or new Scrum Masters on how they can develop that good sort of working relationship with let's say an existing Scrum Master of the team, or even if newly formed teams, you get a Scrum Master and product owner who haven't really worked together before. How can they really build that good working relationship?
That's a really good question. It's a good topic. I think first of all, it's the same in any relationship, but you've just got to spend time getting to know each other. You've got to build a bit of a personal connection before you can start having a really strong professional connection. And that doesn't mean to say that you need to go out for dinner together every night, but you need to take a little bit of time just to understand each other, understand what makes each other tick, what are your goals. We always fall out with people based on misaligned expectations. I expected you to do this for me and you haven't done it, so we're going to fall out. And the other person's like, well, I expected you to do this for me and you haven't done it, so we're going to fall out. And it's actually, if you just spent time in the early days understanding what are we each going after, what do we really care about, where do our passions and our goals lie, then you can start to adapt the way that you work on that team together, or how you build your relationship together. So building a relationship in the first instance, for sure. In terms of the Scrum Master and the product owner specifically, I think it really helps if you both have a good understanding from an Agile perspective of what your roles entail and what you're responsible for and not responsible for. Sometimes you may get a situation where you've got one or the other, Scrum Master or product owner, who is maybe slightly more experienced and maybe a bit older, a bit more senior. Sometimes you're often level, but sometimes it can be misaligned, and actually you kind of need to work together as a team. You kind of need to take each other with loads of respect and appreciate each other's expertise, and you need to have quite a knitted relationship where it's not one person domineering the other, but actually you're working together to move the team forward, and you're very respectful of each other's thought processes and ideas. As we've already covered, there's the two key roles, and they work together in tandem. So while the product owner is making sure the team are working on the highest priority stuff, the Scrum Master is helping that team to be more effective, be more efficient, go faster, go better. And sometimes there can be a bit of a tension there where, like we've said, to get better for the long run, you have to spend a bit of time in the short term dealing with issues and blockers and impediments. And so, like, as I mentioned, the product owner is really, really helpful when they allow you that time to figure that stuff out. So if you can get that understanding together and you can get that agreement, and whether it's, making sure you've got time diarized for your retrospectives that is sacred time, and the product owner, keeps that sacred time for himself and the team, that's one step in the right direction. Whether you have a quarterly offsite day where you devote a big chunk of time to some team bonding and team building, and you get that stuff diarized and agreed, that's important. What else? I think having time together regularly, just the two of you, for just catching up, just touching base on what's going on, that's really important. Almost like your own little stand-up, or weekly check-ins. And sometimes that might be, how are you doing? It might be a kind of peer-to-peer coaching relationship, and other times it might be, we need to just crack through a to-do list of team admin type stuff, or we might need to discuss some issues together. But keeping that time for each other, I think, is really important, and that will also naturally help you build a relationship.
Yeah, definitely.
I think. What do you think? What are your thoughts
on stuff? No, I definitely agree on that. I think that, building that relationship from the get-go, and making sure that you guys are sort of like in tune with each other, understand each other's roles, and understand like how the roles support each other, is the best place to start, for sure. So yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying. You've like nailed it.
I think the only other thing that came to mind is you have to give each other the benefit of the doubt quite a lot of the time as well.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of trust involved as well. Like, you've got to trust each other.
Yeah, I remember, the product owner that I worked with for quite a long time, who Kat, he was a brilliant product owner, and we developed a really good relationship over about 2 years. And there were times when I would need to grab some of his time, and his diary would be absolutely rammed. And I was like, what, who are all these people that are dragging you into meetings? But I had to trust that, he was managing a whole load of stakeholders, and, managing stakeholders in the business, and looking at customer stuff as well. So I had to trust that he was prioritizing the needs of the squad well and protecting the team. And then equally, sometimes I'd say, hey, I need an afternoon in this offsite day to address some team building stuff, or to do a bit of a deeper retrospective on an issue that we've had, or and it's going to seem like a bit of a wacky activity that we're going to do, but I need you to trust me that it's going to be beneficial and it's going to be worth the time. And he would go, sometimes there would be a bit of, we'd have to negotiate, but there would ultimately be a level of trust where you go, yeah, fine, I trust you, I trust what you're doing. And so you need to have that, I think, with each other. You've got to give each other the benefit of the doubt. You've got to have that trust there.
Yeah, and I think from like my perspective as a member of the team, and like seeing you guys, you could definitely see that you guys had that bond and that trust, and what you guys were working on together was all for the benefit of like the team and the growth of the team as well. So it was very clear that you guys had a really, really strong relationship, and I think it made us feel like what we were doing, what we were achieving together was pretty awesome. Like, knowing that we had a really strong product owner, Scrum Master, who worked really, really well together, sort of propelled us to want to achieve more as well. So yeah, it's a relationship that is so important and critical, and yeah, it's definitely one that needs a lot of nurturing to get it right. Yeah.
What would, a couple of questions to close, what would your top tips be to a new product owner or a new Scrum Master going into a new team and maybe starting to kind of build a relationship with their counterpart, you know, the Scrum Master, product owner, or the team itself? What would your top tips to that person be?
I think, like you said, one of the biggest ones is spending the time with the team and the Scrum Master counterpart, getting to know how, you know, your team work, and then understanding like what they're working on, and you know, the backlog, and then, you know, how you can really do your role well for a product owner in terms of like prioritization, and you know, what the team sort of really need from you. I think the relationship for me is the biggest one, and when I went into being a product owner, it was the thing that I tried to focus on the most. So, you know, spending a lot of quality time with the team, either together or, you know, individually, one-on-one, understanding sort of their ways of working and their ways of thinking, where they see the challenges are, and making sure that, you know, I could support where possible in those areas, but also ensuring that they were very clear on the work that they needed to achieve and get done, and that it was still adding value. So relationships is a big one, and like you said, for the product owner, you know, the backlog and the prioritization, like having that really clear vision. I'm not sure for a Scrum Master, to be honest. Like, and this could be very selfish, but I was, you know, when I went into it, I was quite overwhelmed and very absorbed into like what I needed to try and like balance and juggle. And also knowing that, you know, you'd been a Scrum Master of our team for a long time, and like the team were pretty much like nailing everything. Like they're able to run things themselves essentially. So I never really thought about that side of things too much. But I think, as you've mentioned it, like getting the team set up to a place where they can run the show, like you said, and ensuring that they continue to focus on their growth and how they're working well together, and where they could improve on and reflect, and keeping that at the forefront of like the agendas of retros and planning, etc., and making sure that as a team they were a close-knit team, and that they could trust each other, as well as the product owner and the Scrum Master. I think you pretty much nailed it when I was asking about like the advice you'd give for a new product owner or Scrum Master together. I completely agree with everything that you were saying. What about you? Anything to add? Or
like what we said, the relationship is key. The only other thing which I've been learning more about recently is probably the targets, the goals and objectives of the team. I think that's probably, I mean, as a Scrum Master, your goal is to coach the team around the process. I was going to say process then, because I've been listening to like American podcasts and audiobooks and stuff. The process. The process is normally your main focus. And actually, what's potentially more, like, I'm going to get shunned as a Scrum Master for saying this, but what is potentially more important than the process is the goals and the objectives. And if a team don't understand what their objectives and their key results are, then your process could be so slick and you could get the team going so quickly and so efficiently through a backlog, but there'll come a point where they'll turn around and go like, what is the point? You know, why are we doing all this? Where's the end? And so actually to be able to, with a product owner, quite quickly identify what's our team goal, what is that looking like in terms of objectives, what's it looking like in terms of key results or KPIs, you know, what does that look like in the short term as well as the long term, and to be able to articulate that to the team together, I think is so key. And I think it's probably something I've missed in the past, and you just get stuck into the kind of the sprint process and cracking on through the backlog, and you fail to identify that together. The product owner equally is, you know, trying to keep the stakeholders happy. They're trying to get through the backlog. You know, if you're in a big organization, that product owner is normally taking guidance and strategy from someone a bit more senior. And actually, I think in the beginning, or as soon as you can, you need to sit down together and you need to nail what are our objectives, what are the key results that we're going to measure, What does that look like in the short term, long term? And then the team will understand where their purpose is, and then you can start getting to work on the process.
No, that's a really, really good one, actually. And you're right. I think once you get into the day-to-day running of like squad, you do sometimes end up losing sight of like, actually, what are we here to achieve, and what are our goals? And if a team has targets, like what are our targets, and how close to are we getting there, and what can we do differently to try and achieve those? So yeah, that is a very good, clear one that we need to keep in mind.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts?
No, but not really. I think for me, like I was doing the product role for only a short period of time, so this is from a quite a unique perspective, like what I'm talking about. But for me, like I had a really good product owner to sort of follow on from, and they set a really high standard, which I found incredibly helpful. So yeah, for me, I just sort of rolled into it, and then I also had a really strong Scrum Master to like support me and make sure that I was basically just like surviving doing so many things, and it just highlights to me like how incredibly important those two roles are within a team, and how people shouldn't underestimate it. Yeah.
Big shout out to Joe if he's listening.
Yeah.
The product owner we've been referencing, he was awesome. He's
incredible.
He's awesome. He's moved on, but we do miss him. So we love you, Joe, if you're listening. Cool. I think we'll close it there. We've had a good bit of discussion on the Scrum Master product owner relationship. It's a delicate one. It's like mum and dad. Sometimes you've got to be mum, sometimes you've got to be dad. But ultimately,
it is. Yeah, definitely. Good cop, bad cop as well, sometimes people say.
Yeah.
It's like, it's always there to balance each other out.
Yeah, but you've got to love your team, and you've got to empower your team, and you've got to put them first, and just not be an old school manager. You've got to be a servant leader. And if you're both doing that, I think you're winning.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, we'll close it there. We'd love to hear from you guys what you think makes great product owners and Scrum Masters, and we'd love to hear what you think makes a great Scrum Master product owner relationship. If you've been in either of those roles, or you've witnessed either of those roles, and you want to let us know what works for you or what didn't work, or any thoughts, then drop them in the comments. We'd love to hear them. We'll respond to them. We'll even put them on our social channels as good discussion topics. So do let us know what you think. You can check out all of our resources at agileavengers.com. There'll be links in the bio. You can find resources for retrospectives, for team building activities, for icebreakers. You can find blog posts on being a Scrum Master, being a product owner, being an Agile team. We're putting new stuff up every week. So go and check it out if you're in the Agile world, or you're just in a team and you want to get better and you want to become super. Until next time, we'll catch you later.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.